So my name is Kevin, and I'm going to be doing a little presentation on my friends, the Pontee. Many people know them as the Zetas or the Greys, but they're actually the ones who I've been in contact with are known as the Pontee from the planet Pontel, which is the fifth planet orbiting Zeta Reticuli. I've had a lot of ET experience and contact in my life, and I'll go a little bit about that, but I'm going to be discussing mostly about my last experiences in the last 2 years with a group who I discovered through a friend, and that they're actually using Twitter, and I became very, very close with them and developed a very, very close relationship with them. And as you can see here, that's the picture right there. That's PETA. And a book was just recently released by Sue Walker, who is their telepath in Albuquerque. And the book is called Inviting ET, and it's about how to host your own CE5. And there we go. That's, yeah, that's me. So I'm a musician. I'm Kevin Estrella of the instrumental rock band Pyramids on Mars. I'm also the radio host to 3 radio shows, which includes Pyramids on Mars UFO Radio on artistverse.com and Starseed Ascension on Why Wouldn't We Radio in Dallas, Texas. And I'm also a co-host with Dr. Sasha Lesson and Janet Lesson on Aquarian Radio. I've been an experiencer for many years. I've always been studying ETs or extraterrestrials all my life. And I think that was more in preparation for the work that I was going to be doing, because I always felt like my purpose in life was to raise consciousness and of the ET reality. And I always felt like, okay, what are you waiting for? I'm here. It's time. And it just nothing happened. And then I started writing my music, Pyramids on Mars, and some incredible, interesting things started to happen conscious-wise. And then it would be August 14, 2014, when an interdimensional craft would fly across my backyard and would open a portal and leave. This sighting was, I was the only one who saw it, and I discovered this after I went to MUFON and they did an investigation on it, and it would be 2015 when I would be basically, through this incredible synchronicity, that Grant Cameron was doing a presentation on extraterrestrials and musicians and why musicians are being contacted to raise consciousness. I'm like, oh my God, this is all about me. And when I go and see him, my entire life changed. His presentation was talking about experiences that I had with music and downloads of music and my own ET contact, and that MUFON was actually doing a presentation on my sighting next door. And I was like, this is crazy. And so it's been quite an interesting ride. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the what people think the Zetas are, the general what people think from a general society, what people think the Zetas are as beings, and I'm going to be talking about a little bit more about the reality of who they really are, because there's different groups. And then I'll be talking about, so this is just basically an outline of what we're going to talk about, and I'll be talking about my introduction to the Pontee and Sandia Wisdom on Twitter, and what they're trying to teach us and why we are here. I'll be going over a brief history of Earth, which is going to be very enlightening. And then I'll be going over my own personal experiences with a lot of slides showing a lot of evidence from their visits. So as we know, a lot of people think that the Zetas have large heads. They've got no hair on their body, which is true. They have black eyes, gray skin. Everybody kind of has an idea of what the Zetas are. Just so you know, those black eyes, those are actually just visors. They have big eyes, just like we do, behind those visors. So they're just like sunglasses for infrared to protect their eyes. Some of the popular mainstream preconceived ideas as being sexless, and they can't repopulate. They do everything through cloning technology. That's not true. That they're genetic clones. That's not the case. Well, some of them are, and I'll be explaining some of that. societal structure geared towards a group memory complex through a hive mind, swarm intelligence, which is a collective that their clones collectively possess electronically monitored and controlled memory. Now, this part is actually only true about the extraterrestrial, the Zetas, which are manufactured here on Earth. You have to understand that there's two groups. There are the real star nations, and then there are the ones who are being biologically built and grown here on the planet. And when I went to Albuquerque and I was talking with Sue, I had a very interesting conversation because Tilcom, who's their leader, who I'll be introducing you to, the reason why he absolutely hates when people call them aliens, the Pontee aliens, is because these manufactured ones are biologically grown. They're implanted with chips. They're remotely controlled. They are not alive, and they move around robotically. They do abduct people, and they do cause a lot of harm. But the thing is that these is military groups and other, but not very nice star nations who are the ones who are behind these MK Ultra operations. And Tilcom says they are the aliens. They're the aliens, not us. And that's why it's very hurtful for them, because they're being misrepresented, basically. But as far as telepathy goes, it's not a swarm intelligence. They are all connected to the universal collective consciousness. We are all connected telepathically. Everyone's connected. They're just much higher advanced that they all are connected to everyone, and they're able to communicate with anyone and everyone. So they're part of the soup. They're all part of the collective. They can still have their own individuality, which they do have their own individuality, but they're all together. It's about oneness. This is interesting. I went to the Catholic website to find out what it says about extraterrestrials, and that's all they say. The Catholic Church has no official teaching on the existence of life beyond the planet Earth. That's very interesting. I'm going to be talking about the Catholic Church in a bit, so you understand about what's actually going on.
He said if there were, he would bless them
and baptize them, which I'll be talking about that too.
They can also make a donation.
Yeah, but this whole thing about baptizing, it's very interesting because this is actually part of a control program. I'll explain that. It's very interesting. So, as the Catholic Church, states that they have no official teachings on ETs, or that there's no such thing, yet paintings like this exist. So what does that say? What does that tell you?
People were aware a long time ago already that there was more in the sky than just birds.
Yes, but these religious paintings obviously show something else, yet the Catholic Church says, we have no official teachings. Okay, talking about more preconceived ideas about what do you think the Zetas are. Widely agreed that they seem to be evolved from a long-term experiment using genetic makeup of our species, carefully following abducting individuals, subjecting to various tests, and attempting to wipe clean their memories with frightening experiences. They... As I explained, there's the ones who are not benevolent, who are doing certain things like this, but they do have the ability of suppressing memories. That's definitely true, but there's reasons for that. They have certain protections, certain protocols that they need, where our memories are not. They're not wiped. They're just put in our subconscious, and they're there with our dreams. And they will be activated at another point. I've also heard that's most likely that after official first contact, that many people will get their memories back. Oh, it's not dreams in our subconscious. It's our conscious memories and meetings with them The reason why we can't remember them is because they then bury them into our subconscious.
Oh, they bury them.
Yes, they suppress them. See, I have been visited. I've probably been picked up like 24 times at least this year. I don't remember any of them. Yet I'll wake up in my bed with sand in my bed. My sheets will be covered in red dust from Albuquerque. And there's all kinds of other artifacts which I found on my bed. So I know that, okay, and sometimes my consciousness will be changed too, and I'll be getting to that too. But I have no memory of any of it. I have no memory because they suppress it. But they also have the ability of being able to paralyze you too. And I think they do that for your own safety. Because the conscious memories that I've had 3 of them where actually I was conscious, yet I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. But I experienced them there.
Like
it wasn't scary though.
Like sleep paralysis or something? Is that different?
No, this is different. This is like, well, kind of, but it's more you're more conscious than you are asleep. You cannot move. You're almost asleep, but you're awake. So it is like that. Yeah, it's kind of like sleep paralysis, but it's a little bit more conscious than sleep paralysis. Where are we here? All right, so I'm going to introduce you to the Pontee crew. These are the real Zetas. And these are my friends. As you can see, they're as individual as we are, and they're as human as we are, and they all have individual personalities. They're all physically different, and they all have their own specialties and what they're really good at. I'm going to go into who everybody is here. This is Tilcum. He's their commander and leader. He's the one who made contact with Sue Walker initially 5 years ago. And there's a very interesting story. It just happened by accident. Sue and Walker were watching The Voice on TV, and they were talking about who should win. And then Tilcum pipes up, speaking in the room. Oh, that guy should win. And they're like, who the heck was that? And over a period of 6 months, they eventually got to learn Tilcum and find out that he wasn't from here. And he's been here for several decades, preparing Earth for its official first contact, which is to happen in 2021, fall of 2021.
Sorry, it's okay if you take a picture.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sure. How would you like me to pose?
It's not going to happen until
2021. Yeah. Yeah. 19, 20, 21, 3 years, yes. Yeah.
This is on the website you sent me, though, right? This is available.
Official first contact, yes. All their, yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah. Oh, they are. Especially Rudy. I mean, if I had a chance to date her, but what's not going to happen, unfortunately.
So you're saying, question was, date her and them, so they have male, female sexes?
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes. And as far as I know, yes, they do have genitalia. They do have genitalia.
Their DNA is compatible, like you have a hybrid, like you have a human, half alien baby.
Of course, we're all related. Everyone's related. That's when you start to understand. They've explained that there's no race out there that's a purebred. Everybody has borrowed genetics from everybody. We're all related. We're all cousins, and that's why they will also refer to another ET, another star nation as cousin, because at some point they have shared genes. The understanding of the gene pool and the creator. There are creator gods as well as source as God. So there are beings who work for the creator and do things to help, to basically do work for the creator, build planets, and also to help nurture and nurse these planets and the beings on these planets to higher consciousness. So there's many people who are involved in this. This is Teeny, and she is here to teach telepathy. She's the one who dictated the Telepathy 101 primer course, which if you want to have ET contact, go to officialfirstcontact.com and download the free Telepathy 101 primer. It's a book that she wrote. Officialfirstcontact.com. Yeah, I'm gonna have a slide which will actually have that up there. This is Judy. She's public relations, and she's a great teacher. She's helped me through a lot personally, but she's also very sociable. When the base in Albuquerque has been there for about 10,000 years, and it's one of the three main bases in the world where multiple star nations come, and sometimes she works the door and she greets everybody. She knows everybody, like so many people, and asks them about their kids. She knows about everybody's family and stuff. She's really a social butterfly. And the other thing that she likes to do on her time off, which is very interesting, is a sport which they call fly kiting. So she'll go down to, say, the Amazon, and then she'll, these birds that, these thousands of swarms of birds and stuff like that. Well, they will telepathically merge with the birds. Of course, it's completely consensual. And then they will basically, with the birds, she'll have a competition with her friend who can create the best images with the birds. And if you look at some of the stuff, these amazing photos of birds that, all of a sudden they're in the shape of a face, or they're in the shape of a dolphin, they're in the shape of a whale. It's because somebody's doing some fly kiting. That's what she does in her time off. This is my buddy Radar. He loves music. He's here. He's their main pilot. He's also is here to study Earth's culture. So he was basically asked to watch every single movie and TV show that had to do with extraterrestrials to find out what people believed about their, what their opinions are about ETs. So he basically was hired to be a couch potato. But he's also a good friend of mine. I've met him many times. He's really awesome. This is Greyson. He's a very interesting character. He's the kind of guy who actually most of the time is sitting at the back of the room with his arms crossed, thinking, and he'll make comments which will have multiple meanings to it. And he's a very, very clever guy. He also likes to quote a lot of Shakespeare. He loves Shakespeare. He's always quoting Shakespeare. This is Thera. I think I have a relationship with her. I really do. I think I do. She is here to teach. She's actually here. Her specialty is she's an expert on the tonal language of whales. And she's here to collect the whales' songs before all the whales die. Because they're dying because of Fukushima, because of the poisoning in the oceans, the plastic, and the whales have been known throughout the galaxies. Their songs are known throughout the galaxies. Their tales are known, and they actually have a very complex telepathic language, which she has actually been teaching me, and she's given me several downloads to help me to be able to incorporate this into my music to be able to communicate the language of the whales, which is a tonal language, but it also is a telepathic language that you can project images and tell stories. And that's what they do. They tell stories and images. But every time I look at her, I just know there's something special about our relationship. And I have a handprint on my banister, which I believe is hers. I'm going to show you that picture pretty soon. And that's Peter. We talked about him, and I'm going to be talking about a experience that I had with him where it was my first real conscious recall of actually being allowed to be awake while he came and visited me in my apartment. It's an amazing story. And he looks exactly like his picture, by the way. This is Depp. He's new to me. However, he was with me at the Albuquerque Stargate Cosmos because during my presentation, there was one slide which I didn't have quite the right information, and he actually blocked it from my mind. He actually did it. It was pretty funny. I'll talk about more of that later. Okay, so why are they using Twitter? Because it reaches a worldwide audience. It crosses all barriers of race, religion, and culture. And they're now up to about 6,000 Twitter followers. Tilcom is very ambitious. He's expecting to have 4 million by 2021. And they use it to share their culture and their knowledge. They love to teach. They also love to learn. And we have a great time. We also love to joke around, and we're always teasing each other, having a great time that way too. And it's also a way to help, bridge our gaps between our two cultures. And they've shared a lot of stuff in regards to their culture and what they do. They celebrate their official first contact every year. They had it. Their official first contact took place many millions of years ago, so you can imagine how advanced they are. And they also celebrate. They call it basically being thankful for the soup, where they're thankful for being part of the collective consciousness. And part of this ritual is they'll have a bowl of broth, and they'll drink from the soup, and then they're all gone for several days, and they're all in a telepathic meditation, being thankful for being part of the collective consciousness, part of Creator, part of Source. All right, how I met them. This is awesome. I love this. Okay, and radar surprise. Let's see here. Okay, so it was about last January, and it was when I was first starting to follow them on Twitter, and I was really starting to get to know them. And then I have on my website for my band, I have these T-shirts which I sell, which are called ET shirts, which have these images on the T-shirts, which are created from Rob Fullington, who's an experiencer hybrid, and he was given advanced abilities for audio-visual to be able to create these images. But I got a tweet from Radar one day, which basically said, "Geez, Kev, we need to get you some better Zeta models because your T-shirts are just way too serious and way too scary looking." And so I'm like, "Oh yeah? Well, I know 4 new people for my next T-shirt." Because at that time I had images. Sue Walker had drawn a picture of Tilcom, Teeny, Radar, and Drudy. So I said, "Yeah, we can have them on a T-shirt." And this is all happening live on Twitter, all live right now. Okay, so this tweet comes up, and I tweet back saying, "Okay, yeah, I can make a new T-shirt with you 4 on it." The next tweet comes up, it's Tilcom saying, "Yes, I'd like you to make a T-shirt for us." And I said, "Okay, fine, but here's the catch. I want you guys to come up with a caption." And so I'm thinking, I had an image for the T-shirt. So this is the idea that I had for the T-shirt. The 4 of them, and I was thinking, okay, what would be the great caption? Oh, of course, just simply, "We're here." That's perfect. And I was thinking, I'll bet you Radar is going to be the one who's going to come up with the caption for the T-shirt. 2 minutes later, this is the tweet that comes up. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, "Oh my God, how did you? What just happened here?" And then the next response was, with utter look of shock, "Dude, you mean telepathy works? Who knew?" He had telepathically read my mind from Albuquerque, and I was in Ontario, and he read it and pulled it up, and then he put it on Twitter. Now, this was a life moment changing for me because I realized, oh my God, these guys are real. But there's a lot more depth to this as well. I could do a whole PH paper on this because when I talked to somebody else about this and I explained this, they were like, "Well, if they ever went inside my mind, that would be the greatest, invasion of my privacy. That would never, ever happen." And I was like, oh, that's interesting because that means that Radar would have known this. Because not only because telepathy is communicated on an emotional wavelength, he would have been able to go into deep inside me to know what my true feelings, what my true experiences were, and know that I would not be bothered at all by him doing this and communicating this publicly. So you have to understand how deep telepathy is communicated. They know your intentions. They know if you're right-minded. They know your thoughts before you even know it. They can go inside you and pull memories from you. That's how deep they are. Yeah, dude, get easy. Dude, you're easy to read. Dude, get used to it. That was the next comment because I was just like freaked out. But Radar, he's awesome. So what they are and what they're not. Genetic clones, the Pontee are not genetic clones. Void of emotions, no, because they're very emotional. Telepathy is communicated on an emotional wavelength. Telepathy can be communicated in ways not just through words, but images, through memories, through sound, through kinesthetics. It's everything. It's multidimensional when telepathy is communicated. But they love to laugh. They love to laugh to the extreme, like where your sides are hurting. They love to dance. They during their off time they have dance rehearsal groups in the hangar bays. And Radar's got him pretty good at all kinds of different dances. But Sue kind of got worried when one day he asked, "What's twerking?" They do all kinds of dances. I'm sure they do. All kinds of dances they do. They practice all kinds. Yeah. Drones operating as a collective mind. No, as I was explaining, telepathy is a universal collective consciousness. It's not a hive mind. Telepathy is the most common language in the universe. As I say, it's more efficient. But it's more than just hearing a voice in your head. It's communicated audibly and visual. It's carried on an emotional wavelength.
What's a hangar bay?
A hangar bay, like like you have airplanes in a hangar.
Oh, yeah.
Well, picture a bunch of flying saucers in a hangar, and it's a big room. So in their off time, Saturday nights is dance party.
So where is the hangar bay?
In their Albuquerque base, underneath the Sandia Mountains in Albuquerque.
Oh, that's where they live?
Yeah, that's where they live. Yeah.
Oh.
There's a base that's 2 miles underneath the mountains of the Sandia, with tunnels that go thousands and thousands of miles through different areas of the United States. It's been there for like tens of thousands of years. But yeah, so that they have dance rehearsals. That's what they love to do in their spare time. Besides, other funny things. Oh, this is great. So PETA's visit. Let's see here. Okay. This is what I was talking about how they can telepathically see inside you. So PETA's visit to me, I was lying on my couch in my apartment, and I woke up to the sound of 2 feet landing like that, just a few feet from me. My eyes were closed. I was awake, and I was so excited because I knew that they were allowing me to be awake while they were visiting. Now, I didn't move. Later on, I found out that I couldn't move because I was actually paralyzed. But PETA walked up to me. He took his arm, he put it underneath my neck. He took with his other arm, put it underneath my legs, and he just gently lifted me off the couch and just held me like a baby. And it was absolutely incredible. I remember actually my arm fell and kind of swept and touched his body, and he was wearing some kind of rubber suit that felt like dolphin skin. It was very cool to the touch. And I gave him back a telepathic hug of light. I'll be getting more into that, explaining what that is, because I learned that a few months prior in Arkansas when I went to the Ozark UFO conference, and they actually threw a tea party for me. But what I remember from that tea party was this hug of light that I was surrounded by, this love, this you feel all their emotions. So I gave that back to him, and he actually moaned. He went in acknowledgement, and then he put me down. And then as I'm talking to him, he starts to change himself to look like this Halloween costume, which is a Halloween costume that my kids wore, 5 or 6 years ago when they were really young. He started changing his appearance, and I kind of, at some conscious level, I kind of recognized it, but I didn't know what it was. And before I knew it, that's what he had looked like, to make himself look like something that I was more comfortable with. It was about 2 months ago, I went down the basement of our house, and I found this costume on the floor in the bag. And I went, oh my God, that's what PETA turned into. So what he had done was, while I was there, he looked into me, into my soul, to find a memory, a pleasant memory, to change himself to appear into something that was more pleasant, because he was afraid, he didn't want to cause any fear to me. So that's the abilities that they have. Yeah.
It's interesting how indigenous people call themselves Star Nations.
Yes, and they like to be called Star Nations. Yeah, I refer to them as Star Nations because that's what the Native Americans have always referred to them as, and they prefer that too. All right, I'm going to try and speed things up here a bit. Yeah, unfortunately, the church has a lot of people believing, thinking that extraterrestrials are demons. This is a lot of brainwashing. And it goes back to a story of on the Catholic website of a priest talking about how, the story of somebody who woke up in a craft by beings, and he took out his rosary and started calling out Jesus' name, and then they put him back, and they said that just proves that they're demons. You say the name of Jesus and they go away because you called on Jesus. Well, actually, the truth is that they have a strict rules that they have to follow. They have a strict protocol, which is cause no fear, do no harm, leave no trace. If any of those are broken, they're in big trouble. So knowing that what their protocols are, what do you think is really going on when somebody calls on the name of Jesus? What emotions are they going through? Obviously, it's some kind of fear, and so that's why they put them back, because they respect your free will. They just want people to know that they are people too. They're not aliens. They are human too. We just have to expand our definition of what human means. There are multiple forms of humans throughout the galaxies. Multiple primate humans, aquatic, feline. There's cat people out there. There's bird people. There's insect. There's reptilians. There's all kinds of different humans, and we have to understand that we are all related at some level. Preconceived ideas. Zetas are highly intelligent beings, but appear to value science above spirituality. No, they are very highly spiritually advanced beings. Their religion is where science. That's not true. They believe in God. They believe in the concept of oneness, that we are all one, and we are all one with the Creator. It just happens to be that they're closer to the Creator than we are because they're at a much higher vibration. Going to skip over that. All right, this is where it gets fun. Judy Carroll, I interviewed her a couple of years ago. She is a hybrid. She is a dual soul Zeta human hybrid. Her ship crashed in the 40s, and then she reincarnated on this timeline in a human form. And then in her 30s, she was met by her Zeta family, who she recognized immediately. And they then had a crystal. They put it to her forehead and gave her a massive download and asked her to write this book, which is the Extraterrestrial Presence on History, Lessons in History. It's a history of humanity from the point of view from the Zetas. So this is where it gets fun. I'm going to give you a history of humanity in 7 minutes. And as my friend Colin put it, well, it's extremely abridged. Okay, this is where it gets fun. Okay. So millions of years ago, wars were fought known as the Draconian Wars. Draconian reptilians came into control of many planets, Earth being one of them. They were responsible for creating the dinosaurs. They engineered human-reptilian hybrids on Earth from reptile genetics. I know I already explained about what, I'm just going to refer to them as reptilians rather than human reptilians, just because we understand that they're reptilians in a Earth human form with 2 arms, 2 legs. After the age of the dinosaurs, they began the development of a mammalian human species as a slave race to the reptilians. We, at this point, were much more devolved, and our DNA was blocked from further evolution. But because of the blatant disregard for cosmic law broken by the reptilians, off-planet assistant creators decided to intervene. There are several star nations who helped evolve human beings over the long time span, Pleiadian being one. The first Homo sapiens were a combination of primate, reptoid, and Pleiadian DNA. This Homo sapiens species spread out across the rest of the planet. To assist the work of upgrading the slave species to higher vibrational frequency, the Zetas, the Pleiadians, and others got involved. This is recorded in many of the tribal writings from different Star Nation beings as their ancestors. At this time, the acquisition of reasoning power and free will was being introduced very gradually through DNA activation. The reptilians decided to speed it up, because with reasoning power comes the responsibility of free will, and the two work together. The reptilians bestowed it too fast before humans could handle it wisely. And this is known in the Bible as through the Bible as Adam and Eve and the forbidden tree of knowledge. The fall of man. Oops. Yeah, a trigger figure here. All right, come back here. Okay. So from this, we are all, from the religion point of view, we are all born sinners and therefore need redemption through Jesus. But what really happened was that the reptilians bestowed reasoning and logic through DNA activation too quickly before humans could handle it wisely. The reptilians enhanced us in many ways, but in other ways they blocked our human spiritual growth. This interference has been done through the manipulation of the pineal gland, or third eye, in order to throw everything out of balance. And this blockage continues up to our present day with the chemicals they add to our diet, to the fluoride they add in our water that calcifies our pineal gland. To further complicate, other off-world began to physically mate with the newly human developed species. And this is told in the Bible as the fallen watchers, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, who took the daughters of men to themselves. And these resulting offspring became known as the Nephilim, or giants. The Anunnaki have been that kept coming to Earth over the ages. So the reptilians, by hijacking planet Earth many millennia ago, have caused major problems between themselves and the off-world star nations, who are highly evolved ETs and universal caretakers whose job it was to oversee the development of life on other planets. Their abilities have been blatantly hindered. A number of attempts have been made to get Earth out of the controllers' hands, but they are so deeply entrenched here that they have the human species completely controlled. The Pharaoh Tutankhamun was an off-planet being. He tried to set things right, was put to death. Various other spiritual teachers tried as well, including Jesus and Buddha, and they were put to death as well. The controllers took control of the new and improved systems that the enlightened ones like Jesus and Buddha had set in place, and tailored them to exert maximum control and exploitation of the people. Many of Jesus' teachings were purposely removed from the Bible, and much of Jesus' teachings have been altered. They tailored religion based on their own agenda to control the masses through fear and twisting of original biblical text. Much of the scripture meaning has been lost through poor translation, as well as much meaning has been lost because the original Aramaic texts had multidimensional meaning, which was lost in translation too. Yeah, we talked about these in these pictures here. As mentioned earlier, the official statement made by the Vatican of the existence of extraterrestrials, yet these portraits still exist. According to Christian teaching, they shouldn't exist. Our modern Bible, the King James Bible, was constructed putting together carefully selected scriptures and books. There were many books that were excluded, so our modern Bible nowhere does it talk about Star Nation beings, yet these portraits still exist. Here's some more. Okay, this is the this is the screen that the Pontee blocked me from seeing. So what happened in my presentation, I had a laptop in front of me, and I was going to talk about this, and my laptop came up white and blank, yet everybody could see this on the screen behind me. I thought it just didn't show up or something went screwy, so I decided to move on. So I'm going to kind of explain a little bit about what's going on here.
Why was it blocked when you see it?
Because I was focusing on a negative point as compared to they wanted things to be explained in a more positive point as well, to include the positive and the negative. So here, this is the Vatican Pinecone Courtyard. This is the largest pinecone statue in the world, which is 4 meters tall. It's also green, very, very green. The pine cone represents, and it has throughout history, representing the pineal gland. And as you can see here, in the staff of Osiris, all throughout history, the Romans used it, the Anunnaki used it. It's been known, to represent the pineal gland, and it's even embedded in the Pope's staff. But it's just very interesting that the world's largest unripened pine cone happens to be in the Vatican. So what is the symbolism behind this? Well, there's multiple symbols. This is what they want you to have, an unripened pineal gland. That's part of it. But the other part that the Pontee wanted me to explain was that the positive part to the pine cone is that it's actually, its growth is based on sacred geometry. So if you do a cross section of it, you're going to see the circle of life, the flower of life within inside this, the way it's created, and it actually represents telepathy. It's kind of like a double helix that goes all the way up to creator source and spins all the way back down to creator source, a connection of us with the creator. And that's the part that I didn't understand, and I got schooled from Teeny the night afterwards about where I was missing, and that's why they blocked this, because they wanted me to explain that part. So there's a lot of meaning behind the pine and cone as representing the pineal gland, and that's the explanation. Oh yeah, this is interesting. As you can see here, hang on, I'm just going to figure where I am here. Reptilian controllers, are also known as the Illuminati, have set themselves up in positions of wealth and influence. They control the information to humans on Earth, creating a reality that they want us to believe. Their whole aim is to block human evolution, and they are the ones who are responsible for denying the existence of any off-planet being. But if you look at this picture here, on the left-hand side, do you know what that is? Actually, sorry, the right-hand side. That's the Vatican Hall. That's the Vatican Hall. So as you can see, there's something very interesting that's going on here. As far as, reptilian control being put into everybody's face. A lot of people will, call you a Catholic hater, saying you're just seeing things. But what was interesting was the Pontee actually allowed me to put this up. And I asked, well, how come you blocked the pine cone, but you allowed me to put this up? And they said, because it's true. So there is a reptilian control in the Vatican. No, I know it's pretty scary.
Wait, sorry, can we go back for just a second?
Sure.
So, you hold this for me. Wait, I wanna make sure I understand what you're saying. So, this is the Vatican.
That's a Vatican Hall, yes. So, maybe I'll take the microphone. So this is the Vatican through a fish-eye lens. So you have two walls here, and this is the roof. Okay, that's the roof. The ceiling, yes, the ceiling from inside. So when you're standing from the back, this is what you see. Two eyes, and actually, if you look, you can actually see the way the stained glass is done. It looks like slits. It's done very, very the architecture is absolutely incredible. The amount of detail that they did to make this look like this. This is the same hallway from outside. Pretty amazing, eh? It looks like a snakehead. So from outside, it looks like this. From inside, you're looking in the mouth of a snake. Too much coincidence to say, oh, well, it's just coincidence. No, it was masterfully architecture this way. What's also scary, if you can't see it from here, but there is this huge statue behind the Pope, which is it expands like 50 feet across, and it's Jesus being resurrected from a nuclear blast. And it's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. It's really scary looking. But also, it's the way, if you look at it, Jesus' head is turned to the side, and his hair is blowing to the side like this. But when you look at it, it actually looks like a serpent's head, the way his head is going, and from every angle. Coincidence? I don't think so. But you also notice, this is the heart of the Vatican. Where are the crosses? Where is there anything that's religious in here? Nothing. Except the only statue is this huge thing that is terrifying to look at. It really is. It's crazy.
When was that?
In the 70s. 70s, yes. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of move forward here. Here's some more showings of what happens with fluoride to the pineal gland. It calcifies. To basically make us into zombies, so we can't connect with Star Nations and in our higher self.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, that's an audience hall. That's what they're called.
That's the audience hall, yes. Yes. Yeah, that's correct, yeah. Yeah. So what they're explaining is the reason why they're here.
Can I just say something before
Yeah, sure.
It's interesting that he's referring to the Pontees,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think of the Pontel. Pontel, not the church. They're referred to as Pontels. So is there any sort of...
No, there's no connection there. No. Pontee is just it's the plural of their name from their planet Pontel. So their planet's called Pontel, which is P'(NTL), and then Pontee is just what they call themselves. Yeah. So why are the ETs in contact here? Is as we are all connected. The evolution of one species influences all the others and the universe at large. The larger galactic bodies see Earth that has forgotten its spiritual mission and purpose of learning through experience. Like a flowing river, the Earth has gotten stuck on the muddy banks and is affecting the expansion of the universe. So, in the flow and expansion of consciousness, mankind is stuck on the outer edges and is being retrieved, so to speak, and we are being brought back into the flow, and that is why Star Nations are here to assist. We've lost our spiritual connection and place in this universe, and they are assisting in correcting this. So there's the history of where we are today.
Can you be more specific in how they're assisting us? Because it seems like we're going downhill pretty fast.
No, as I explained, official first contact is in 3 years. So we have a lot of learning to do. Not everyone will be going to the new Earth. Not many are going to, there's only so many people who will be going up. The rest will end up somewhere else to continue to learn their lessons. So from what I understand is that people of higher consciousness will be going to a better place. Those of lower consciousness will be still learning their lessons. Not everybody is going to be ready. But as far as I'm concerned, this generation is not ready for ET contact. Our children might be ready, but there's so much that people have been lied to. People are going to be blown away and shocked when they find out they've been lied to their entire life. It's going to be pretty crazy.
But these are the experiences from a lot of people who are the experiencers. like this is part of our awakening program
Yeah.
here in the people that call themselves experiencers or interested
Yes,
in
our
these
job
matters,
is to
because-
help is to raise awareness.
Right, yeah. Now, question two, you say official contact 2021.
Hmm.
What is the hierarchy of ETs here helping us? What do you mean by official first contact?
32 star nations
Because
are
many of us
involved.
had that contact already, right?
Yes, but this is the actual official first contact where they're actually going to land and they're going to show themselves. And there's 32 star nations that are involved in this. So it's a huge thing. And as Tilcom put it, it's like herding cats. It's like herding cats. And some are ready to go, and some are like, I don't think they're ready. I don't think I want to do this, And what if this happens? What if this happens? Well, we're going to pull out, And so they're really trying to wrestle with trying to stick to this agenda for 2021. Hopefully they'll stick to it, because they even talked about pushing it to 2025. It really is going to depend on where we're ready.
So who makes that call? Because there's a federation of star-traveling nations. There's a galactic council, from what I know.
Yeah.
Who makes a shot? Like, my logical mind wants to have, figure out who is who. Can you help us
I can only
out?
guess who's in charge. You're probably right. It is the whatever galactic federation it is. So, but there's 32 star nations that are involved in this. They made it clear though that how are we doing for time? Okay, I think I'm going to speed this up. Yeah, this is an excellent book, Suzy Hansen, Dual Soul Connection. And if you read this, you'll find out that there are thousands of humans that are currently working alongside Zetas right now, preparing us for the Earth changes that are gonna happen. Official first contact is a very long and grueling process. It requires to raise human understanding and awareness to a level that we'll be able to handle it. Too many humans are too programmed or too brainwashed to even understand how big things really are, and they're not ready. So my personal visits with the Pontee. My first visit involved, Sue told me back in February that you're on the schedule to be visited by the Pontee. You'll know that they've showed up if something in your apartment's been moved. And so one morning I was walking by my, I woke up that night to the feeling of liquid draining out of my ear. I didn't know what it was. It woke me up. It was really annoying. And then I, went back to sleep and then went to work. Next day I walked past and my statue is facing the wall. And I'm going, what the heck's going on here? And then I realized, oh my God, I think they came. And then I tweeted and Judy said, yes, actually, one of the trainees just said it was curiously cute. They're sorry they didn't put it back in its place. And I'm all freaking out, like, oh my God, they actually came and visited. But there's a reason why they came and visited. That is because they did a toxic clearing on me. I later found out that what had drained out of my ear had actually left a stain on my pillow. And after, for 7 days, my ears were really, really sensitive. And my urine smelled putrid, like metallic, like chemicals. It was just absolutely disgusting. After the 7th day, my consciousness had cleared in such a way that I had never experienced before. And I felt that areas of my brain that had been activated like had never been activated before. And they repeated this procedure about a month later, and I had another stain as well from the same ear. So whatever they did, they dipped me in some kind of clearing that went in and cleared out my mind, and has cleaned out all the fluoride, all the toxins, and I now have a continuous connection to the universal collective consciousness. My consciousness is extremely expanded, and I'm able to access areas of my mind that I never was before, and they're helping me to basically develop my telepathy. Just to touch base with one of the things that Teeny's been teaching me with regards to my music, that when I just let go and go to what she calls the edge of the black, and that's where I write my music. So you should go to the edge of the black, and then you can write your music from there. Other little things that they'll do, this obelisk is usually facing exactly flat, facing my lava lamp, and one day I come downstairs and here it is. It's been, it's lying on its side. So obviously, sometime that night, somebody had come and visited. They found it curiously cute, and they picked it up and looked at it and put it back not quite the way it was. This has happened several times. they'll rearrange my crystals. So you can see a couple of the crystals. I took a picture of them, and then one day I take a look at them because I know exactly where they're supposed to be. The round one was moved, and one of the blue ones was picked up and looked at and put back incorrectly. There's the base of this thing, this helmet. There's handprints. There's fingerprints there, long fingerprints. That's up in my bedroom.
They have 4 fingers only?
Yes, they do. Yeah. And these, I measure things by the dust. So right here, I'll show you. Sometimes they'll just do something so extremely, they're trying to basically get me to pay attention. And so what they did was, this thing was covered in dust. And then one day I'm looking at it, and it's like somebody had taken their finger and just smudged the front there and cleaned it off. I hadn't touched it at all. But I paid attention and noticed that, they had done that. So they'll do the smallest little things. They'll also they'll just take one of my pictures and just kind of just make it slightly not straight, So I'm looking at it going, is that crooked? And it would be them, just seeing if I was paying attention.
So when you say they come to visit, have you actually physically seen them, or is it more telepathic, like in a vision, or
I saw
when
them.
They came to see you and you said this person lifted you up?
That was the only time I was actually consciously aware when actually it's not true. That was the biggest time I was consciously aware and I was allowed to be awake when Peter came and visited me, because he actually picked me up, put me down, and then I was talking to him, looking at him, and I was really excited, and he started changing the way he looked. And at the same time, after he had done that thing and turned himself into the Star Wars figure, then he made his face look like a friend of mine from high school. A friend of mine, Drew Carmichael, but he was bald all the way up here, and then he had this tuft of hair, and I thought it was kind of funny looking, and I said, geez, you kind of look like, and before I knew it, I was back on the couch, opening my eyes, and it was like he was gone. I was back on the couch, and where the heck, it was like missing time. But I know it wasn't sleeping because I went from awake to awake. It's freaking nuts. It was crazy.
So how tall is he? I mean, you're a tall man, right? You're almost
He
6 feet.
was only about this tall. He's about the height of my my 7 or my 11-year-old son. He's about this tall.
So how can they pick you up? I mean,
That's
wow.
what I can't figure out is how.
You're much heavier and taller. And
I think that they can do all kinds of stuff. It must be maybe they have anti-gravity to be able to pick me up, because he had no problem picking me up like I was like a baby. I couldn't believe it. I don't know how he did it. Depp.
oh, there are the fingerprints. Yeah.
What's going on, Depp? That's interesting. That's funny. I'm curious to know what he's blocking. You can see here, this is a handprint from, this is actually Greyson's handprint. I tried to match my hand to it, and when I put my hand there, the fingers are 2 inches longer than mine. There's 4 of them, 4 inches. The baby finger is twice as long as mine, this handprint. That was not my handprint. That's
and
not
suspiciously missing the thumb.
They don't have a thumb. They just have 4 fingers. It's kind of like 4 fingers, but they left that handprint there. There's another picture of it. That's Greyson's handprint. Look how thin the fingers are. Look how thin they are and how long they are. That is not a Earth human handprint. You're looking at an extraterrestrial handprint there. Yeah, that's Greyson. He admitted to the handprints. So I think he was trying to tell me, you should dust. So I don't dust anymore. What the heck's going on here? That's strange. Okay, that's really weird. They're playing with me. The reason I know that they came and visited me is because I'll have dirt in my bed. I'll wake up, and they also said, check your bed for red dust. And I looked at my pillowcase, and it was all covered in this red dust. Now, we don't have New Mexico dust. What the heck's going on here? And they found the bottom of my sheets were all covered in dust. Oh yeah, they didn't. That's my bed. They didn't show my bed, so they didn't want you to see my bed for some reason. This is interesting. This is really weird. I want to check this thing when I get home and see, if I can actually find it. But they're blocking. Something's going on here. here is I take samples every time, you know, the dust and the dirt. I'll collect it in tape and I'll tape it up and I'll label it. I'm up to about probably 25 things of tape now from these visitations. So somehow, for whatever reason, they blocked the handprint that I had on my balcony of Thera. I think it's Thera at least, but there's a small handprint on my balcony, my railing. The Mad Tea Party. So this is the most amazing experience I had with the Pontee. So it was is Arkansas Ozark UFO Conference. I was told that they were going to be visiting me there. And I was really excited and hoping to see them, but nobody showed up, you know, at the conference. But then it would be about a week and a half later, I'd be at home, and all of a sudden I had this memory pop in my head, thinking about I saw a radar jumping up and down on the couch that I was sleeping on, saying, "Dude, wake up! We're gonna party now." And then a couple things were mentioned, and I said. And they said, yeah, we got together, we laughed, we partied, and you snorted tea out your nose. When do you want to do it again? And I was just like, what? Oh my God. And when that trigger word came, snorted tea out your nose, the memories came flooding. And all of a sudden I remembered everything that took place. And this is actually a picture of one of the rooms in Ozark where we stayed. So kind of like this, I was sitting on a couch. Tilcom and Radar were sitting on the love seat across from me. Shruti was sitting next to me, and we're having a tea party. And I just remember Tilcom was next to Radar, and Tilcom was talking about something that Radar had done, where he almost caused an accident, and he's running around in the hangar bay freaking out because he was trying to hot rod his skipper ship, and he did something wrong. And then you have to remember, I remember actually hearing their voices in my head telepathically. It was like speaking like loudspeaker inside your skull. Radar's voice is a cross between Kevin Spacey meets Nicolas Cage. Tilcom, he sounds like Anthony Hopkins. Now, Greyson, it was what Greyson said that threw me completely off, because Tilcom was talking, and then all of a sudden this voice interrupted, saying Brinkman, and it was really low. It sounded like Leonard Nimoy, like Spock. And I was thinking, when did Spock get in the room? And you have to remember, telepathy is in your head. So when we talk, we can actually figure out where sound is using our ears. But it was just a speaker came in my head, like, where'd this voice come from? I look behind me, and here's Greyson leaning against the wall, and he looks at me. And all of a sudden I recognized that was his voice, because they had talked about on Twitter so much about him having a deep voice. And I guess that's where I lost it. And I ended up snorting tea out my nose all over Radar. And the poor guy, he's on the couch. And I just remember I was laughing so hard, and he is laughing so hard that he's snorting. And he's literally snorting off the couch, going like this. And I'm watching him falling, like sliding down the couch, snorting. And we're all just like laughing our asses off. And then when we finally come to, he's looking at me and he says, I've never seen one of you do that before. That's so cool. I'm like, oh my God. And we all start laughing again. And then I just remember looking at him because I couldn't let him have the last laugh. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, you're the first ET I've ever seen snort before, so I guess we're even. And then we just laughed it all over again. But what I also remember, not only hearing their voice telepathically in my head, it was actually very loud, but it was that I was explaining this hug of light, this telepathic hug of light. Ever seen the movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial? Okay, you know when you see him, he's got his glowing chest? Well, that's visually what it feels like to be with them. This glowing light of love and action, and just, it's the most incredible ecstasy feeling. It's like being at the best party of your life, and you're surrounded by their love, and everybody's feeling each other's emotions, and you don't want to leave. You just want to be with them all the time. It was just an incredible experience. But that tea party, I remember it very well. It was the trigger word that they said, and they were glad that I remembered my thing. As I was explaining, when PETA came and visited me, this is where the room I was where he visited me. I was lying on the couch here, and then he came and he landed just in front of the window there and walked over to me, picked me up in his arms and held me. So that's the room where he was. Yeah. There we go. Not bad timing. There we go. 2 minutes ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
Sure.
Speak like this. So, do they then materialize and dematerialize again when they leave?
They have the ability of going through roofs. They can go through solid objects. That's how they come in and out of my apartment, usually through the ceiling.
Okay.
That's why PETA just landed, but they'll take me from my bed, and I'll just go through the ceiling, I guess, and then they put me back in bed.
Okay. Yeah, you also mentioned about the year 2021, but also that they respect our free will. And our governments have been so not wanting us to have contact. I have also heard that if we're not going to accept them by the year 2021, it was the same year actually, that they will not come back anymore.
What they've explained is that they have the technology right now to be able to do a false flag invasion, alien invasion. Because as I explained, they've reverse engineered ET craft. That's why people will see the black triangle TR-3Bs. Carl probably knows more about that than I do. But they have reverse engineered ET craft. They have technologies and biological ETs they've created to be able to do a false flag. And what the Pontee have made clear is that if a false flag should occur, A, official first contact is canceled. B, say goodbye to trillions of dollars in international star trade. C, the planetary changes which are going to come place, which are going to occur, and millions are going to die when they do happen. Flooding, famine, food. They were going to offer help. They were going to offer help. So there's a lot to lose. Not every star nation will leave. The ones who are going to leave are ones who are closer to us. There are other human groups out there who have just started to explore the galaxies. They're as young as we are. They're just a little bit more advanced than us, but they're the ones who are not going to stand by our side if we're not mature enough to be able to go outside of our own planetary system, because it's dangerous out there. There are good ETs and there are not so good ETs. But are we mature enough? Are we advanced enough to be able to do that? Will we be ready?
But why should we all suffer because of our leaders, our evil leaders?
Well, we're not all going to suffer. This is so much to get into, but are you kind of familiar with the Mandela effect?
Yes.
Okay. So from what I understand is that right now we have at least two different parallel universes that are occupying the same space, and we're kind of jumping between two. Some people have different memories from the old timeline, some have different memories from the new timeline. The Earth is splitting into a fifth density, and then there's a third density which is going to fall off. So people are going to be choosing which density they're going to go to.
Why tea? Have you ever seen them like drinking beer or alcohol, like where they're intoxicated, or like smoking marijuana or other contraband?
They don't drink. It gives them severe hangovers. So they don't do that. As far as marijuana, I've never heard them using it. They have made it, they said that it actually it's not indigenous to Earth. It actually came from somewhere else.
But then the other thing is also like when they're there on your couch, why don't you get a picture of them then, or like video record it then? Like you just had the picture of the couch, the empty couch, and then just drawings on them. Like can't you tell them I'm taking your picture and that's it?
No, that's against the Galactic Federation rules. They cannot have pictures of them taken. That's why they have this. That's why it's plausible deniability. Of them. The stuff, the evidence that I showed you with the handprints and stuff. It's easy for somebody to say, oh well, he could have faked that. They have a certain line of what they will leave as evidence and what they won't. But I know, the evidence that they've left because I was there and I'm the only person who's in my apartment. Another funny story was there was the first night that I wore earplugs because I usually have a fan going to keep, some kind of background noise. But I decided to wear earplugs one night. I woke up the next morning and one of my earplugs was missing. And I realized I think they picked me up because I checked my entire bed and it was gone. Earplug was gone. So I mentioned to them saying, look, I don't have a lot of these. If you're in the area, would you mind dropping it off? 2 days later, this earplug shows up downstairs in my apartment somewhere else, just put down. So, things like that. So I got it bagged and tagged. But, I found some other strange anomalies too, underneath my pillows. It's pretty interesting. Sue Walker, the telepath for Sandia. So she's the one who is doing all the tweeting for them. She's a professional telepath. She's been a telepath for 23 years working for, CIA and FBI. She's done work for them, but she's a professional telepath. She's also an artist. And so they'll show her a picture of themselves telepathically, and then she'll draw their portraits.
What's her name?
Sue Walker. Yeah, Sue Walker.
So, getting to the pineal gland,
Yeah.
the how do
See
I
you, Carl.
how do I say
How you
this?
doing? How you doing?
So they must know what the evil people are doing with the pineal glands of others that they kidnap.
Calcification.
No, in satanic rituals. They know about that.
And they know probably they know about everything. They know about what's been going on, what goes on this planet. They control what's been on this planet for millions of years. They know, and that's why they're slowly trying to put a stop to it. It has to end.
Yeah, it sure as hell does have to end.
Sorry, you mentioned they want to basically land in 2021, like their official first
Yes.
contact.
Yes.
So, do you know
Where?
where? Well, basically, are they just going to land, or is there going to be some sort of a plan? Because they're going to have to, I guess, let the people of the world know who they are and where they're from, and
Yeah.
all
As
that.
far as where it's going to be, I just know it's not going to be a military base. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, but it'd be somewhere where it'll be fairly safe for them because they're trying to find a place that'll be the safest place for them to be, because they're more afraid of official first contact than we are, and I don't blame them.
Why? What are they expecting? Because the people of planet Earth shoot first and ask questions later.
sorry, but didn't we have official first contact with way back in 1947 or earlier, where they
We've
made
never had an
contact with-
official first. We've had lots of contact, but not an official first contact where the whole world will
No,
know.
okay, not the whole world, but there has
This will
been
be like
interaction.
this will be like broadcast on TV.
Okay, but
Yeah,
there
they're-
has been ongoing interaction between, say, military or deep state and alien, extraterrestrials.
Oh yeah.
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 And sharing of information, technologies. There's
Yes.
been trading going on.
Yes.
So this would be the first official public
Public.
exposure.
Public exposure.
And is their intent to just tell the people of the earth everything that's been kept from them? Is
I-
this sort of like an awakening type of
I think I don't know exactly everything that's going to take place in official first contact, what they all planned. It's about, they said it's about emotions. It's not about technology. It's about your emotions. It's about our emotions. It's about bridging cultures for the first time in human history. That's what it's about. That's what official first contact is mainly about. So.
Yeah, because with the blocking of all the media, they cannot do it by way of media because they don't want to tell us, the people who are enslaving us. So how are they going to do it? Like you say, by way of emotion, you say. But then again, the people have to be also ready for it,
I think it's going to take a long time for people to become ready for it. I mean, it's one thing for them to land, but then there's going to be a lot of a lot of emotions and a lot of, uncovering that people will want the truth to. I don't know how it's all going to happen. I really don't. I don't have all those answers.
Well, I think nobody really has the answers. I just find out from what I've been told by VAs. It's about collective human consciousness is evolving at rapid speed. Much like 20 years ago, nobody believed that the environment was a topic, right? The word environment was not discussed. But now it's in everybody's mouth, and the politicians talk about it. Whether there is an issue with the environment or not doesn't matter, but that's consciousness now, right? So I intuitively believe we all wake up with a new awareness, as we do every day anyway. Every day we wake up, we come with a new awareness, we have a whole new level of consciousness, and I believe first contact is going to happen when the typical hundreds monkey story, when 10% of the collective human consciousness, this is how the Andromedans told me they read things. There's a walk-in program, not just by VAs, could be by the Zetas, could be by whoever. So there are millions and millions of people around the globe who have a DNA knowingness, but it's not conscious yet. And it's going to be released, and I think then over time, people are ready for it when it's happened, because I was not ready to talk any of this stuff. I was just happy to raise my kids, and the hell with everybody else. That's why I was at. But then, like Kevin said, suddenly he had this, oh my God, how do I know this? Like, after you had that red stuff on your pillow,
Yeah.
suddenly it was something suddenly you're in a different world. And I had that experiences as well. That it was like Jesus said, let them see, take the veil off your eyes and see, but see with your heart, not with your head. And I think it's going to be something like that. I don't know. I never heard 2021. A's never tell me anything. They say you have a job to do it, never mind everything else. So I don't know. Thank you so awesome and much, Kevin.
Thank you. Oh. Yes.
Take the little pot for money. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question. What are we supposed to do to help? What's the message here? Yeah, how do we know?
Keep raising consciousness in every way that you can.
Us as experienced.
As experiencers, speak as publicly as you can to as many as many people as you can. Don't be afraid to speak. Find opportunities to share your stories wherever you can with the largest audience that you possibly can, because we need to talk. If we stay in the closet, we're not helping anybody. I mean, I'm public all the time. I do radio interviews all the time. I interview people all the time. I'm constantly educating myself, and I probably have a target on my back. I know I'm watched by the military. I don't care though. I don't care. It's what I signed up for.
What's happened? Oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I always had a dilemma trying to understand, since we are all being manipulated for so long, and we are manipulated, and why the ones that are awakened have to suffer and pay. We're not choosing our leaders, our political leaders, to control us. Like we don't want that, and yet they manipulate us. So this affects how the extraterrestrials, perceive us, and what you're saying about landing and showing up and first contact. But on the other hand, I see that because we are still responsible, because in a way we are choosing our political leaders, like when we vote and when we use certain things and when we follow certain things. So we are letting ourselves be manipulated in a certain way, because there are so many things that are in plain sight, and a lot of people choose to ignore it. Like this, what you just showed the audience hall in the Vatican. it's so obvious, and yet how many people,
How many are actually questioning
how many
it?
people really can see that the symbolism
Mhm.
instead, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? Like, we have free will, but at the same time we're being manipulated. So it's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know we're manipulated, and then a lot of people are asleep, but those who are awake have to sort of, in a way, pay the price for those who are not. Unless, like Hildegard says, if 10% of the masses are awake, maybe we can carry the rest. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think we're not going to rely on the political figures for raising consciousness. A disclosure is going to come from us. It's coming from the experiencers. There's going to come a point where the whole planet will realize that ET presence is real, and they're going to be questioning. There's going to be a lot of fear. There's going to be the people who are in control of the planet are going to cause things to cause great chaos and great paranoia, and cause a lot of as much fear as possibly as they can, because that's how they've controlled us for forever. So these are the things that we are going to be facing, and we have what Dee Dee has said. We have to use our fear. We have to use our own judgment and our own what we know to seek for truth and not be manipulated by the media who's trying to blind us. But it's going to get probably uglier before it gets better. It always has. Historically, truth has always been adversary, and then eventually the anger and whatever, and then eventually it's always accepted as always been fact. I mean, these are the things. This is what we're going to go through.
But I mean, the positive thing is, and I hand it over to you after, the positive note is, for me at least, that all these events that are not observable by everybody, they're different for everybody. Contact with the Zetas is your unique experience. Different people have contact with different entities. The majority of them that I know have been benevolent, and they helped people, like in my case, recover their health. Now I'm being kicked out to a speaker's training. I have to speak about this stuff in a bigger way. And yet I'm stuck saying, hey, I don't know how to make YouTube videos, or I don't have the technology, or I don't have this or that. But there is a way where each and every one of us, if you really look closely to your life, events push you in a direction which then gives the next thing and the next thing. And I personally believe we have to have faith, and to me that's faith, that there is a system in place that have orchestrated the way consciousness evolves on different planetary systems for a long time. And these intelligences actually know what they're doing. Like, you look at the sacred geometric form of a pine cone, or a flower, or how the cells together work to create this universe of the human body. That's like with everything out there, I've lost faith a long time ago. At some point I thought, what have I done creating children, right? It's no way we survive. 30 years later, I am here. I was able to, in my own life, something that people take for granted. Oh, you have kids, fine. I didn't take it for granted, because as a 30-year-old, the 6-year-old I was never supposed to see him graduate from grade 1. And I'm here. So that's where I draw my faith, that if you are true to yourself, and that's really all that's asked, right? You actually will make a big ripple into the collective human consciousness. And by you focusing on developing your gifts and talents and being who you are the best you can, living the most joyful life you can, and not allow yourself to be pulled down by all of the BS that we are aware of, maybe that is what sees us through. I see very hopeful into the future. Sorry for this grand lecture, but I want to have you go home with a bit more positive an outlook, hopefully.